Ta-da!
Hi.
Okay, welcome to the BTM Club show. Now, I have to take a deep breath, guys. I
Oh,
have to
really?
take a deep breath. I have to take a deep breath. You know, we always have high scorers on this show. We only have high scorers. This one's gone past the stratosphere, let me tell you. We welcome the one and only Audrey Wheeler to the BTM Club.
Hi.
Your Royal Highness. I
Believe me.
would go down on one knee, but then I'd go out to the camera and there'd be no point. So I'll just bow my head gracefully
I
and
appreciate
say,
that. Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a real honor. I'm going to be honest. I'm a bit of a fan. So
Really?
what? We're going to get into my hysteria in the interview. Don't you worry. I'm a bit of a fan, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm not slightly excited, ever so slightly
Oh,
excited to be speaking to Audrey Wheeler.
oh, wow. Thank you.
Okay. Looking glorious and amazing. She
Oh,
made all that effort for me. And then I had all that effort for
you
me.
said all that for me.
All
Oh,
that for little old me. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to see you looking amazing. And I know you're still sounding amazing. How are you?
I am hanging in there, living life, touring. Uh, right now it's downtime. I'm about to leave in about 2 days again to go back out. But
And who are
yeah,
you with? Are you still with Shaka?
been with Shaka for 34 years. Oh, sounds
Wow.
crazy. Every time I think about it, it's crazy. But yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This lady is Shaka Khan's, one of Shaka Khan's backing vocalists who were tearing London to pieces
Oh,
a
we did
few.
London, I have to say.
Oh, you really did do
Oh, we
London,
did. We
trust me.
really did. I was there for a total of 6 weeks. That's a
Yeah,
lot. You know,
that's a long time. You
and I
must have
enjoyed
been
it.
exhausted. And I remember when we first communicated and you said, I've just got back to America, I've just got back home. I just need some time to breathe.
Right, because it's you're on a different time zone. I guess you do get acclimated to the time zone in London, but I'm a night owl, so it kind of throws you off. Everybody has a different way they go about
Yeah,
it. Some people try to acclimate right away. I'm gonna stay up all night until I don't do that. I just let
craziness.
my
Yeah, you
body. Yeah,
just let your body do it in its
yeah,
own
that's
time.
that's crazy. But then
Yeah,
when you come home, some people adjust. Like London and Japan, Japan is really hard. When you go there, it's oh my gosh, it's hard to come back
yeah.
and adjust. But yeah, so it's we had the time of our life. That's all I can tell you. We shopped. We had the time of our life. That's all I can say.
You had time to shop because I heard that Shaka was working you.
Well, we worked, but and the other thing is when we came, we had a week of rehearsals.
Yeah,
So that was really, we were there. We had a rehearsal studio to go to. It was like a 9 to 5. But during that time, once the rehearsals were over, me and the other girls would go sing, go practice. And then we say, you want to go shopping? So yeah, that's the
yeah.
time we had. As far as once we started touring, no, it
And that
wasn't.
was 6 weeks. That's a long time.
So it was weird. It was 4 weeks in for the first half. We went home for 1 week and came back and did 2.5 weeks. And then we were also in like Portugal, Ibiza, Cannes. We went to France. So the second half was less of London because we did
Right.
that final show, the big show with the orchestra.
But that's a grueling schedule.
And that's what people don't understand. They think it's all fun. And we have
No, I mean, common sense will tell you when you're seeing that an artist is in London, then they're in Ibiza, then they're in Portugal. Well, just the traveling alone, okay, the travel days.
well,
And
we say we get that's what we're getting paid for. We're getting paid for travel. We
yeah,
love to
yeah,
sing. We
yeah,
love
but
to
it's still
perform.
grueling. It's
Yes,
still grueling. It's still
absolutely.
exhausting. So, and then you turn up looking fabulous and sounding amazing.
I
And you're like,
appreciate it.
how on earth are they doing this?
And it's funny you should say that. You don't want to sound ungrateful, but it definitely is a mindset that you have to have because there are definitely mornings or you get the schedule and you're told not only that, what people don't realize is if you have to travel from, we had a base in London. Most of the time we moved around London, but we had a couple of hotels where we stayed and they might say, oh, we're driving out to Camden or we're driving out to this place and it might be a 2-hour ride. So you have to leave the hotel like 12 noon The show is at 8 o'clock at night. You have to leave at 12 noon. You drive for 2-3 hours. You get there. They have lunch for you or dinner. And then you have to sit down and do the whole ritual with the hair, the makeup, the clothes.
And the sound check, of course.
And the sound check. Sometimes you don't get a sound check, which is hard. Oh yeah, that's when you do the big festivals at like outdoors.
Oh yeah,
realize it. You don't get sound check. You don't.
Well, I was honored to see you in the South Bank.
Oh, you saw that. Okay.
The perfect setting.
That was a beautiful venue.
And I'm sure you had a sound check because you guys sounded so amazing. You had to have a sound check. Oh yeah.
That one we did.
So I saw both. I saw the funky one and the jazzy one.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Right. So I saw the whole repertoire.
And that was almost like playing Carnegie Hall in New York City. So for us, that was our favorite,
Right.
Because with the orchestra and, there's talk of her doing a whole tour of just orchestras, which I would love because it's a different environment. We did one at the Hollywood Bowl when we got back, and it wasn't actually quite the same as London, but the atmosphere, if you've ever been to the States.
So you did the Hollywood Bowl. I mean, that's prestigious in itself.
With an orchestra. It was packed. There was like stars there. That was close to.
I don't feel like I'm dressed properly to talk to this lady. I mean, I feel like I should be putting some kind of.
No, sir. You're fine.
I should be kneeling on a cushion.
No. We are we are humans. We are lucky to be gifted with talent that we were born with. No one taught me how to sing at all. That was never. I'm one of 8, and so it was something that.
One of 8 siblings.
Absolutely. And from the same mom and dad. Yep. Yeah. So, I'm myself and one of my sisters, she's just passed away 2 years ago, but she was a singer. She was the singer in the family, and I sang backgrounds for her. And then,
really?
Oh yeah. And, we were kids. We were in school. We were like singing as a girl group. And then as I got older, I continued doing it. She was this smart brainiac.
Well, I'm so glad you went back to the siblings because I love to hear the stories and the humanity behind the people that we know as the stars. Right. Because we all see them as this person.
Right, that's right.
But, they didn't start there. No. And I always think that's what's inspirational for anyone who's listening or watching, because they see the heights that you've risen to, and you're like, well, yeah, I was one of 8, and,
Middle class family. My dad worked for United Airlines. My mom was a nurse.
That's not middle class. That's a bit upper class.
I know, but you have to also remember what I mean.
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, that's not middle. That's a little above middle.
Well, we didn't know any better. You are correct. When we look back on it now, my parents moved from Brooklyn. They used to live in Brooklyn. They met in Brooklyn. And they moved us out to Queens. And if those in London or don't know what Queens is, that's the place where Coming to America, where Eddie Murphy made the whole
trip. Absolutely.
That's where I'm from. I'm from Queens, New York, which is
near
JFK.
New York, we all know, is the melting pot of talent, whether it be New York, Philly, New York City. So much comes from there. So many amazing artists. And you grew up in that environment. And as you said, the little above middle, and, so you had a nice
life.
Childhood,
but when you think back to families, a lot of families, we were an oddity because there was 8 of us. So that means there was 10. Some people don't have both parents. So basically we stood out as a family because everybody, that's that big family, and there was for me, I didn't have training, none of that. It was all just me loving to sing. And
So music started for you. Was it a musical family? Was it a musical house? Did they love music?
We love music. We love, my parents did love music. And I went to Catholic school, and in Catholic school, it's not like most people. A lot of my peers started out in the gospel choir. That was not my experience at all. I grew up, it's a whole different, if you know anything about Catholic school, it's hymns. And I just loved music. And so by the time I left Catholic school after 8th grade, now I went to a regular public high school. And so singing was my comfort. It was what, you know, I went from a school where I knew everybody from the first grade to the 8th grade. And now you're in high school with all these other schools. So it was like, if I saw someone from my Catholic school, I'd be like, hi, you know, we all were like, hey.
All of a sudden,
like,
your best
friend.
friend.
Oh my God, my friend. Even if you weren't friends with the person.
But like, yes, it makes a difference when you're in the unfamiliar to suddenly see a familiar face that you can relate
and so there were people,
does give you comfort.
It really did. And so for me, there was a young lady who was known as this singer in my high school. She was known because she had done it in junior high school. She was the singer. And
you I don't know how, really?
Okay. Yeah, no, but she could sing. Even though it ended up horribly. She ended up hating me, but she introduced me to the theater program.
Naturally, look at you.
No, don't do that.
Naturally,
you are funny. You are funny. She introduced me to them, and they loved my voice and they loved hers. We would do duets, but then they started doing plays, and then they were just like, yeah, we want her to be the lead, and she was not happy. And through no fault of mine. And so that's how it started. I lived not too far from jazz saxophonist Najee, and he met me through some musicians and had always been told, there's this little girl, and Marcus Miller lived in my neighborhood. You know, all these people
so much,
you know, that. Barry Johnson, he was a bass player with, you know, so it's like it was a lot of musicianship in Jamaica, Queens. That's like where I'm from. And so it was like an undercover, you know, people were talking about this little girl because I was way younger than them. And so, you know, that's how it all started.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of the times the singing starts in church.
I know. It did, but not the same kind of church.
Not always, but a lot of the time that seems to be the training ground.
That's right.
Church, or you're in the school choir.
That's right.
But,
and I was.
It is nice to hear, well, actually, I was none of that. I just loved to sing, and it was nurtured at home.
Yeah, and it was music. So for me, I guess you're right. I wasn't.
How did your parents receive that? Were they supportive, encouraging? I knew you were going to shake your head, but I thought I should ask the question.
You said, let me ask. Okay, so my mom was a practical one, and she was a nurse.
Being a nurse, yeah.
And my mom was more like, girl, you better get a job. You know, there's a lot of
people. Before girl, you get a job. Girl, you better finish your studies.
Right, exactly.
I say that now. Don't finish your studies.
No, you cannot do this to viewers. You're going to give old people. We will have a heart attack.
They'll be fine.
You cannot surprise old people like this. You must have been told. Okay?
Continue. Thanks for doing the interview.
Thanks. He's laughing.
You see how the BTM Club treats you? How we spoil you? Not one, but 2 megas. Okay. Back to Audrey. You know, my man likes to steal the limelight.
No, and he came down, and I was trying not to look at him when he came down. I was trying to stay focused. So basically, my mother was the practical one. My mom was like, you know, hey, that's a rough career. There's a lot of people that sing, you know, you better
don't make it.
Exactly. You better have backup. My dad was, he was very strict, but my dad was someone who was a really good ball player back in the days. And he literally almost made the NBA. So he was more of a dreamer. And once they found out, they came to see me perform in high school. And I had an uncle who literally just passed 2 weeks ago. My uncle was an actor, and he told
condolences.
He told my dad, you know, she's really talented. So then all of a sudden, my dad would, like, late at night, he would say, come here, you know, girl, if you want to be something, you know, follow your dreams. And my mother's going, no, you need to get a job.
That's not what I want you to be telling her.
So it was like a very mixed bag of, so when I meet people whose whole family sings and they used to tour together and do gigs, I'm always like, wow, I didn't have that experience. You know, I didn't have that. I didn't have it. So for me, I made my parents proud, if you know what I mean. My mom was
absolutely.
very
you had to prove yourself.
I had to prove it. She
before
was like,
they got excited about
absolutely. My
and
mother,
you know, as you speak to the artists, particularly as you said, you know, the Black artists.
Yes.
It's that the parents, they love them and they want security and stability. Right. It's all done out of love. Mm-hmm. But, you know, they're saying, well, yeah, you can do that, but you know,
They're
you,
cautious.
you said,
They're always
yeah,
cautious.
cautious, exactly.
Yeah, very much so. My
You know.
mother, she ended up being, and I started out before even, so after high school, I was doing all the plays and all this stuff like that. And then another friend of mine in play, she said, hey, I'm going to be in this beauty pageant. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, no big thing to me. Or I'm trying out to be in this beauty pageant. And it was Miss Black America. And she was like, you should come. And I was like, I'm not wearing no bathing suit. No, I'm not. No. And so I ended up going. My parents were like, go do it. Go do it. And I ended up doing it. And I came in like second. You know, people were like, you got robbed. You should have won. But I was just so.
What did I say in the beginning, guys? Look here.
No. I'm just telling you my history. Just telling the history. and so one of the judges, or some of the judges for the pageant, was a group called Crown Heights Affair. They were the judges, and they saw me.
I just passed out. Did you see?
No, yeah, that's my
Crown Heights Affair.
Yes.
What?
And they came up to me and they said, we voted you should have won. We thought you should have won. And my parents were there, and he said, you know, hey, we would love to record her. We would love to, you know, do work with her. And, you know, my father was like very, okay.
Yeah. So my beautiful daughter. Oh my God. No, you guys are not getting your hands all over her.
Absolutely. And they ended up coming to the house and talking to my mother and father. And, you know, they very, very cordial. And there was one guy.
Can you hear this? Crown Heights Affair came to the house to speak to her mother and father.
And there was one member of the group named Skip Anderson, and not Skip Boardley. I'm sorry, Skip Anderson is another musician. Skip Boardley, and they really took a liking to him, and he promised my father, I will look out for her. You know, if there's
I'll be her chaperone.
And he really, to this day, he's like my Uncle Skip. He's a lovely, lovely guy. And so I think that's what kind of took it over. And it was a group they were putting me in. It was not.
Hold on 1 second. Mm-hmm. I apologize. I've just got to close the door.
No
There's too
problem.
much noise.
Oh, okay. I love your decor. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you. Yes, so back to Uncle Skip.
So Uncle Skip basically was like a chaperone. Everywhere I went, he would come to the studio. Even members of Crown Heights Affair, he would be like, guys, leave her alone. Nope, nope. And he was.
Whatever you're thinking, I'm thinking.
Absolutely. And trust me, there was some that were, trust me. And I
but you know, the thing is, you need people like that. If more people were like that, there wouldn't be the problems that there are in the industry and the people dropping out. And, you know, there were more people like Uncle Skip going, no, whatever you're thinking, unthink it. You're not coming near her. Yeah.
And I'm going to call him after I get off this interview because he's not far from us. We're in New Jersey, but he's in Delaware. So, you know, basically it started with that. They had a group. The group was called Unlimited Touch. It was two sisters.
Okay, now my hysteria begins. Now my hysteria begins. Oh, I've been trying to hold it down for the last 15 minutes. Okay. I'll let you continue, Audrey. I'm very sorry to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I love you. Your personality is amazing, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So they asked me, did I want to be a part of it? Of course, who wouldn't want to? It was like kind of modeled after the group Chic, you know, 2 girls, 4 guys. And that was my beginning. And I had never really sung in a studio before. They taught me.
So wait, Unlimited Touch were your beginning?
Absolutely. After the beauty pageants, that was my beginning. Absolutely.
Talk about going at the top.
I mean, and can you believe that? And it's just, when I look back on it, when I talk about it, it just happened. You know, it wasn't like, I met so many singers in New York City after I started doing stuff. I met so many of them that had gone to music and art. It's a famous high school, from the performing arts, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, you should have gone there." But my parents were really strict, so they were like, "Yeah, she's not going on the train into Manhattan from Queens. She's not doing that." Yeah. So a lot of them had a bigger jump on me. They could read music, you know. They were performing with jazz bands, so I kind of was a little behind the 8 ball. So I am definitely fortunate and blessed to have had Crown.
Yeah, but you know what? It's funny because I do think our journeys are preordained to some degree.
Yes.
Okay. Because, you know, you can put all the effort you want to into trying to achieve something and it doesn't happen.
You're right.
Somebody doesn't do all of that and it happens. I think what is supposed to come to you comes
You're right.
to you.
I think you're right. Well, I mean, you're making me think about it and say it's correct, because we also have a daughter who's in theater and she auditions for everything, every Broadway play you can imagine. And, you know, she gets frustrated. She gets frustrated by the, how do you say it? How long it's taking from the time she started. And she has more of a jump than we did, because Will and I are both entertainers. So basically she grew up coming to shows. She grew up, you know, meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we had to tell her, like, you know, everybody
actually nurtured in the environment, and that does give you a heads up.
Absolutely. She had more of a heads up than but she definitely wants to do it her own way. She doesn't want to do it.
But I do believe that what is for you comes to you regardless. So, you know, there are those that had the jump on you because they'd done all of this at, you know, official music studies. So they could read music, and which is fabulous. But, you know, where did their careers go where they could have gone? I
mean, some of them, I can name some and you'll be surprised, but like, you know, Lisa Fisher, Melissa Morgan, they all went to, they had jumps on me. They started there in my, you know, we all started together, but they were doing it, you know, way.
Lisa Fisher,
Cheryl Pepsi, Riley, these people all were doing it in Manhattan. They were in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa Fisher is just on another level. It's
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So that's my school. That's where I started, where now I'm being thrown into recording sessions with these people who have been doing it. So I'm this new chick and they're like, who's this chick? You know, so you get that, you know, so for
unlimited touch.
Crown Heights really, they had a sing on everything.
We love the Prince. I call him the king of sophisticated soul. Okay. He's past the Prince. He's the king of sophisticated soul. We love him. I love him.
I do too.
But then there's Audrey Wheeler, who is my signature. Anybody who knows Barry Thomas knows the signature tunes.
Oh, wow.
Unlimited touch. I can't even get the words out. I can't even get the words out.
What an honor. I have
Happy Ever After.
That's my favorite song that I've ever done. Wow.
Please say it a bit louder.
That's my favorite song that we always wanted to be a single. And what happened
Happy Ever After. Give me goosebumps just name
me too. That's I'm gonna call Lenny, who wrote the song in the group, and just that's my favorite song.
And yeah, from 1980, 81.
That's no 80s. I don't know. You might be right. You're right. 81. You better go ahead and know. I had to think about how old I was. You are right. Oh,
listen, those albums are from floor to ceiling in my house. I've been reading the in sleeve since I was 15 years old. So I know where everything was recorded, who was playing on it, because those were the days of that.
Yeah. You know? And so for me, because of them, that led me to sing backgrounds. They would, so many songs, but one of the members of the group was a guy, Bert Reid. He was the brother of Reid. Reid and William Anderson, they pretty much produced us, but they used Crown Heights. And so Bert was this almost like a vocal teacher for me. And he would come in and he would say, hey, and he had like a West Indian accent. So he'd be like, yeah, I want that girl, Audrey, I want her to sing a demo for me. Come. And I would come sing. And
you sound like a Trinidadian.
Yeah, well, Trinidadian is what my family is. There you go.
Oh, really?
My grandparents, yep. My mom's mom is.
You sound completely Trinidadian.
I know, I can do accents. Everybody teases me about it. So basically, Bert had me do demos. And I did the demo for France Jolie. I did the demo for Funky Sensation. I did the demo for Empress, Dying to Be Dancing. When you hear them singing, I did the demo. And, you know, and I sang backgrounds on the songs too, but he would always say, I wrote this song, sing it just like this. And everything was rhythmic, you know, dying to be dancing, you know, and you're singing it regularly. He's like, no, you gotta go. And he would be like in my face teaching me how to do it. So it was school for me. It taught me techniques. He taught us how to wear the headphones. You know, they would say.
But the wonderful thing with you is you were learning it while doing it, which Absolutely. Is the most exciting way.
It's true.
I mean, theory is important.
You're right.
But to actually be learning it while you're doing it. There's nothing more exciting.
And now that you say that, I can look back on it and say, they clearly knew that I could do it, because I was never taught. And, you know, I listened to records in the house and taught myself to harmonize. No one taught me that. And it would annoy my siblings, you know, like if people don't know what harmonizing is, but it's when you hear the melody of a song, but there are notes above it, a notes below it, and below that. And I would just try to find how to sing the opposite notes than the melody. I would just like, okay, I know the melody. Now what's this other note? And so my brothers and sisters, they don't know anything about music. All they knew was, oh my God, can you just sing it the way the record is? They would be like, oh, mommy, please be quiet. So they laugh now when I say that, but you know, it drove them crazy, you know? So for me,
where in the lineup of the 8 are you?
I am number 4.
Number 4. Okay.
And there's 5 girls and 3 boys. I have
almost
2 brothers.
A middle child.
Almost exactly. And the funny thing is, I sort of, when I was younger, I looked more of like a throwback to my Trinidadian grandmother, my great grandmother, I guess. And so I was a little lighter than everyone else in the family. And it was strange because, you know, people would, especially the sister who is a year older than me, you know, we look alike now, but we're like 2 different complexions. And so people, you know, that's a thing in, we all know with African-American families, unfortunately, it's a stupid thing, but it's the truth. And so, you know, they would say, that's your sister, you know, to my sister, or, you know, you don't look like them, or, you know, it's like, so that makes you feel like an oddity anyway. So singing was my solace. It's what I would come in the basement. My oldest brother had like a whole musical setup, and I would come in there and I would learn how to turn the knobs on, put his headphones on, and I would just sing.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, once you love music, that's the first thing. The second thing is, once you're playing it and you're singing it, you are doing schooling. You are learning as you're doing it.
Absolutely. Because if you make a mistake or you don't like how you sounded on it, you do it over.
You pick the needle up, put it back to the beginning and go again.
No, I have to do it again. I would do this on my off time, on my, you know, weekends. And this is when my family first really, I guess, figured out that I was sing. When you're wearing headphones, you don't know how loud you're singing. So you're just, you're singing. Yeah. And I would have my eyes closed and I would just be singing, and I would open my eyes and my entire family would be all looking at me. and
all the neighbors, because they could hear you as well.
And like, they would say, no, you sounded great. Keep going. I would say, no. And I would turn everything off and just, and you look back on that and you're like, this was my beginning. This was, it's so weird when I look back on it. And the same with our daughter. We would hear our daughter singing, you know, now headphones is a thing.
What I'm loving about this is you're telling the story, and it's almost as if you're discovering things that you never thought.
I am. Listen, let me say to you, it's so funny. This is something that when I first started working with Chaka Khan, there's something she said to me, and she doesn't even remember saying it. And when I tell her, she goes, who said that? I said, you said that to me. one of the things she said was, I forgot what we were all speaking about. We were on a tour bus and everybody was arguing about basketball. It was the LA Lakers versus the Knicks or whatever it was. And they were in there, no, my team is better. And she's just like, y'all need to be quiet. She said, y'all in here screaming about basketball. She said, and there's people dying. And, you know, we were like, you know, I was like, she said, who cares about that? Do you worry about people that this, that, and the other? And then I started asking her questions about her career. And she said, hey, you know, the day that you think you know everything, that's the day you should retire. And when she said that, I always kept that in my head. This was in the 90s. And what I take from that is you don't know everything. And there's a lot of musicians and a lot of singers and performers who have this air like, I know everything. I've done that. I've
arrived, yeah.
Exactly. But my thing is always, you can always learn. Oh, my daughter has taught me so much. So when you say certain things, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I never looked at my life that way. You just live it. You don't think about.
You just live it. That's right. The thing.
You don't think about how it shaped you.
And the lovely childhood you had, and you thinking that, well, this is the norm. You don't realize that actually it was something to be grateful for until you get older and you hear other people talking about their childhood. Right. And then you realize, well, actually, I thought what I had was the norm.
Absolutely. And the other thing, even before I did the pageants, I also got a scholarship for my singing in high school to go to a school out in Long Island. It was for, it was for theater though, because I used to act and sing, but I don't love acting as much as singing. But I got a scholarship and I hated it. And my parents were so disappointed in me because you're there on a full ride and you're not going to class. And my thing was, they wanted me to start from the bottom. That's how they teach you in theater. So I was never going to get to act. The first year you had to do like wood shopping. I was like, I don't want to make the props for the stage. I want to sing. And so I just became disappointed. And I'm also on my own for the first time in my life. So when I didn't fulfill that, my parents were like, well, we can't afford to send you back if you're not going to go to school. So you have to get a job. And my parents were like, I don't know what you're going to do. And that's where my mother's being practical. She said, there's a lot of people that want to be performers. So you better think of what you can do. So I looked in the papers. I've always been into makeup. Beauty's always been my thing. If I wasn't a singer, that's what I would be. So I was a makeup artist in Macy's in Manhattan on 34th Street in the midst of this whole Crown Heights thing. So after the beauty pageant,
but we go back to what I said earlier, that preordained thing, and it was,
I agree with you.
Is meant to be for you,
I agree with you. You are correct. So for me, it all comes full circle because it sounds like a small thing, but when I'm working, when I'm taping a TV show, people may not know that. So some of this is me saying, when you do, especially in America, when you do talk shows or when you do award shows, a lot of times they have a room of just makeup artists, and they don't, most of the solo artists bring their own artists, but they have artists for background singers, for somebody has a problem with their skin, someone's clothes is not fitting right, they have tape, so there's a whole area for that. And most of the time, I don't have to use it. I just bring my own stuff, I do my makeup, and they always ask the other singers, well, what about the other girl? She doesn't need to come in. And then they see me and they go, oh, excuse me, girl, I love that. I love that as well. So I love,
because what you're doing. And sometimes the makeup artists that you're allocated, well, when they're on a certain level, they can do most faces, but some,
not all faces.
Some got you looking like you're floured to fry.
I was gonna say it, and I know it's like that in London as well. I know. I know.
You go on jobs and it's like they put this in, no, I don't need anything on my skin. I just leave me.
You have to bring your own. You have to bring, especially, in the old days, you hear the stories.
The old days particularly.
Naomi Campbell, and Tyra, they tell you we had to do our own faces because they did not have.
They didn't have black makeup, full stop. And I think back then there was only Flory Roberts and and fashion.
And Naomi Sims came out, and you're right. And Iman came out later. You're right. Yeah. And that's why those models did it, because they had to suffer with not having makeup.
I'm not going to go out there looking like a panda, big circle.
A panda. Yeah, it's so true. So, and now it's not like that. But I will say that though they have the colors for us, they are not.
Application is still.
Right. They're not versed in our skin. We can do them. But for some reason,
it's always been that way. Even with hairdressing, we could also do European and Afro hair, but they could never do Afro hair.
Never. So it's it all for me. When you say it was ordained. When I look back on it, I have to sit there and say, the way I live my life, I take it for granted that this is just the way it is. But then when I go in a room and I'm in there with a bunch of makeup artists, people are looking at me. They're like, what is that you just, and I'm going, you don't know that. And then I just think about
exactly, because you're everybody professional. I gave this up years ago.
I'm beating faces. I'm doing my face and I'm doing her face. And I've been doing that my whole career.
Yeah.
So so that's
okay. So we have to get to my excitement again, because we kind of skipped over them.
I know we did.
Touch. So we started with Happy Ever After, and then you just came and wrecked my world with I Hear Music in the Streets.
Yes.
That is my signature tune for everything I do.
I have to tell everybody in the band, our band members,
my signature tune for everything I do. From the very first time I heard it to this day, I run events. That is the signature tune for every single promotional poster, video, that I do. I hear music in the streets.
So let me just say to you, if there's any promoters watching, we would love, we actually got back together right before the pandemic in 2019, and we started doing gigs, and we unfortunately—
Unlimited Touch are back together.
Absolutely. And we lost a member. He died of COVID, actually. Sandy.
Is this woman trying to kill me on
I'm
this?
just telling you, we've been doing gigs. We went to France. We were supposed to come to London, but it didn't happen. So I'm just putting it out there. We did a gig at Cafe Wa in the Village in Manhattan. We've done, so we are still.
So one of the original members you lost during COVID.
Yeah, Sandy Anderson was him and Lenny Underwood formed the group. They started the group. They wrote the majority of the material, and he was a kidney transplant. He had a bad kidney, and he got a new kidney transplanted, and was doing well. But unfortunately, when COVID first started, his girlfriend, she caught it, I guess, and we didn't know. And they lived in the same house, and she gave it to him, and he just went under. So it's been really—
She must be devastated.
And I think we don't know if she lived, because we didn't know this girl. And he had brought her to a gig. She was just as sick as him. But, I know from his family. I talked to him.
With long-term illness at a disadvantage, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we know that they say people who had, immunocompromised, you had to really worry about it. So, and there was no shots then. He was like one of the earliest cases in New Jersey. Him and this other man, they both passed away. So that was devastating to us. And luckily we had gone and done the gigs in 2019. I have the pictures, and my daughter, she came with us and hung out with me, and it just, she said, "Mommy, to see people looking at you guys that way." She wasn't born. She wasn't even around. So for her, she was stunned. She's like, "I'm used to seeing you singing backgrounds for everyone, but to see you in the front," she was just so proud.
But she must know your tracks. She
does now. Listen, let me tell you something about I talk about my daughter a lot, because she's my only girl, my only baby, actually. And she's a miracle child, because I never thought I could have a baby. And she is so talented, and can sing way higher than me. But she does more theater stuff. So basically, whenever she does audition for plays, they're always like, "Have you ever thought about doing a record?" And she goes, "Oh God."
Here we go.
Like, well, my parents are in the music business, but we're like, "Child, it's all, you don't have to do one thing. You can do it all." You know why? If people
exactly,
there's a reason. She goes in the studio to record with like people that are decades older than her, and they're like, she's in there knocking these vocals out, and I'm struggling to get this dude who's 40-something years old just to get his thing right.
But she doesn't even realize that.
She doesn't realize
because of you two.
And she's been in the studio. We have a studio
in the environment.
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the environment, and it's subliminal teaching.
Yes. And Will would always tell Asia. He would always say to her, like, she would come to shows and she would meet Patty Austin, Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle, Shaka Khan. And, we would always say, "Call that Miss Auntie Patty, that's Auntie." And so she would go to school and be like, "Yeah, I went with my mom and I met, I was with Auntie Patty." And they were like, "Patty who?" And they was like, "You lying." They never believed her. And everybody they don't get to call, Stevie Wonder, Uncle Stevie, and you just
uncle or auntie. Yeah, because they're out of their realm. It's not in their realm.
Right. And they think she's lying, but I would bring her. First of all, she was in my stomach. I was still doing recording sessions while she was in my stomach. So for me, she was there anyway. And as a baby, we noticed that she would just be like, you have the baby monitors to hear your child when they're in their room, and she would be in there just. We'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" And you can't. My mother was always like, "Oh, you're pushing her to be." I said, "No, Mommy. Now, if anyone naturally got it,
it's in her genes, not on one side, but both sides.
She wants to do this. Don't think that we're pushing it.
It's in her genes on both sides.
Absolutely.
But I have to tell you a very funny story. And it was about 1981 or 82.
Oh, wow.
Driving my car. And it was in the days when you used to eat McDonald's. I apologize now. Okay. In the days when you used to eat McDonald's, you're coming home from a club, late night McDonald's, the only place open at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So we drive into the parking lot. A tape is playing because in those days it was a tape.
It was
That's
a,
how old we
it was
are.
a cassette tape.
It was a cassette tape. Not as bad as 8-track,
Right,
which was
and
before.
DVDs, and, yeah, right, all of that
A
stuff.
little cassette. And on comes I Hear Music in the Street. I can remember it as if it was yesterday. We opened the car doors, turned the stereo up as loud as we could at 3:30 in the morning, and we danced in the car park at 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Forgot about the McDonald's and just kept rewinding this. And we were in there for about half an hour.
That's amazing. And so, just so you know, when we went to Lyon, France, and we went to Paris. And when we saw the crowd, we were stunned because, I mean, they had a signing after the concert. They lined up, and I'm going, well, it's not true. I've done it when Unlimited Touch first came out. But to know that we had all, and we found out that we had all these fans in Europe, and we had no idea. We only knew the reach.
You guys would be surprised how much of your music and how many of your fans are here.
I've heard.
You guys thought that I'm broke today because those import albums were a fortune.
I know they were. And when I go to Japan, we do gigs with Shaka. They are standing up holding my album, and everybody, the Shaka band is like, "That's you? You had an album out?" And it's like, y'all be quiet. Forget it. They don't even know. They don't know. And it's okay because this business has changed so much. And, you know, Barry, if I could, I would. I need to do is I need to start doing Zooms. And it's been said to me before, but I would love to. It's different. And though it might seem old fashioned, but I would love to give some of this knowledge because there's certain things that have gone by the wayside with this upcoming talent. Everybody wants to get discovered on YouTube, and I know it's a vehicle, but they're missing. There's a gap. They're going straight from this to that, and that's why so many of them are faltering in their lives later on because.
But you know, that's what to me the whole thing is about. As you said, the industry has changed.
It really has,
and you're seeing that gap because we came up in an era where we were spoilt for choice.
We really were.
Such that you went into this record shop and it was, well, can I buy this Jones Girls import album as well as Phyllis Hyman's, as well as Patti LaBelle's, as
or
well
the Emotions? Or you're right.
As well as Melba Moore's.
Absolutely.
You know, as well as Unlimited Touch.
Right. I didn't know that, but
yeah, you know, and that's what it was. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, keep those two for next week. So you're always
right. I can't get all of those.
Right.
And it's not even like that anymore. That is so sad. They buy music on, you know,
online. It's not the same. I mean, the excitement was buying it, looking at the cover, the image,
and them playing it in the store
in a sleeve. You know, that's where you can say who
reading it,
where it was recorded, who was on the bass, who were on the BVs. You know.
Well, Barry, for me, that is so funny because I also went through that. When I would open my eyes and my family would be looking at me, I was that girl reading the credits and reading the names and seeing the steps. So sometimes you start to see, oh, that girl, she sang on that too. And I can remember one of the groups that I loved was Entombed. And the first session that I had with Tawaka, I was just like, okay, I'm going to be cool. But I'm in the room with Tawaka. Oh my God.
But that's what it's like.
Oh my! They don't, and they're
honest. That's what it's like.
These are now people that I know and I work with, but you remember, there's always someone before you. There's always someone who you
on whose shoulders you stand.
When I first worked with Fonzie, I was just like, oh my God, this is Fonzie. When I first met Lisa, you know, so it's just like it's just weird because you don't. My mother always says to me, you know, well, she said to me, my mom is in heaven, but my mom would say, you got a book in you, girl. You got a book in you. Because she said to have lived the life that you've lived, you really need to put it out there. And it's hard because I'm always traveling and touring, but as you get to a certain point in your life, you know you have to do something with it because, you know, people that still read or still want to know, or, you know, it's something that's to be put out there. because everyone's journey
and
is
there
very
will
different.
always be an audience for it. It might
Yes.
not be the mass audience, but there'll always
Absolutely.
be an audience for it, because there will always be those people who are interested in the story and the journey and how you've come to where you are today, because we know you
Absolutely.
didn't start there. There'll
Those are the
always be-
purists. I think those are the purists, the people that are really into, like they say in Japan, there's still music stores that sell records now, and they're coming back to that. It's just a different vehicle. You know, people that
But the irony is, yes, it does seem to be going in the circle. It's coming.
It really is going in the circle. Isn't that something?
You know,
that is true.
it's
that
coming back to vinyl again.
It really is. It really is. So, you know, I look back on it and I know that I'm blessed. I have to remind myself of that when something doesn't go your way, some small thing doesn't go your way, and you say, are you kidding me? And I will be honest with you, the young chocolate man that I'm married to is very big on reminding me of, you know how many people, and my mother was that person. She was my best friend. She would say, when I would come home, and I remember I would I had like 3 or 4 sessions, a day. I'd start out at 12 noon, and then I'd go all the way up to like maybe sometimes 12 midnight, and or 9 o'clock.
And you're complaining about it,
right? Like, my mother, how are you? Oh my God,
oh God, I'm exhausted. Can you imagine that?
My mother's like,
yeah.
She would read me, don't you do that. Do you know how many people that sang with you in high school that are working at the supermarket right now? They would love to be. She would bring me back to earth. And I try to do that to my daughter, as well. But, she's
don't complain about getting
don't do it.
More than you can handle of what you, and it's not more than you can handle, but don't complain about getting what you've wanted all your life in abundance.
Absolutely. And the truth is, it's really not complaining. It's more, you need a vehicle to vent, because this industry comes with a lot. And
baggage.
Yes, everybody sees the glamorous side. That's why when my daughter was very, very young, at 4 years old, I took her on the road with me with Shaka. And my boy was like, you're not taking my baby on a tour bus. I said, yeah, I am. We're going to Boston. She gonna get on this bus. She got on the bus. He drove us to Manhattan. He was mad at me, but I was like, it's a tour bus. This is the perp. Shaka loves kids. We're not getting on a plane. It's a bus. The bus is gonna drive us to Boston. And then he bought me a ticket to fly home. He was like, no, I bought you all a ticket. I'm like, she's okay on the bus.
On the bus. In a loving environment. Environment.
A tour bus with beds in it, not a sit-up bus, a bus. And she would do that with me. And she would say, you and Daddy are so lucky. I got to go to school, and you guys, you go travel on the plane and you go sing. And she said, I don't understand why y'all come home and sit on the couch and y'all just get so tired and fall asleep. I said, okay, you think it's all fun and games. So that was why I was like, let me take her on the road. And I would bring her on the road. And I remember the first time she went to California, it wasn't even with Shaka, it was with Freddie Jackson. She was older, and I took her on the road. And after we got home, it was weekend. She came on that Sunday. She goes up the stairs and she got on her bed and she was like, oh, I'm tired. I said, you tired? Remember how you used to say to Mom and Dad?
And how old was she then?
She was about 12. She was like starting to be a teenager.
I said, child, you're too young to be tired.
Remember when you said, I said, the traveling part of it is hard, child. It's not easy. I said, waiting to board a plane, getting your luggage, going from getting in the car to go to the hotel, checking in the hotel. People think it looks so glamorous on TV.
And sometimes you've done all the rehearsals in the day, you've done the show, and then they're like, well, when you check out of your hotel, bring your luggage because we're driving to the next city.
Absolutely.
After the show, getting to the next city at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. That happened this year with Shaka a lot. And when we did the whole 4 week that was exhausting. And
you 3 a.m. in the morning, and then you're saying, well, up for breakfast because we got to go to the venue and do a sound check.
Absolutely. At 12 or 1. And it's like you're not really getting sleep. And when you're a singer, this is vital. Sleep is vital for this. And it's not that it's not important to the musicians. They're tired too, but they can still play tired. It might not be their best, rendition or their best part. But when we are tired, our voice says, bye.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to
I'm out of here.
When you go to a show and your favorite artist is hoarse or they cancel, A lot of that is true because the conditions change. You have air conditioning. England was freezing. We got there in June, the beginning of June. I was still wearing fall clothes. I brought all the wrong stuff because they kind of said it'll warm up on this time, but there's always a dampness in the air. So like even I'm leaving on Thursday. I have to deeply look into the weather because if I'm up early in the morning and we've been doing festivals lately, but when you do the festivals, you got to get up early. If you get a sound check, it's damper. It's colder in the morning.
That's open air. It's
absolutely. But the theaters are different. When you're going into a theater, it's fine.
Yeah. Open air.
Or if you're playing in the hotel, it's a ballroom, it's a private event. You just go right downstairs. I don't care what the weather is so much then. I'm going right downstairs to sound check and back up to my room. So
that's ideal, isn't it? That's
I love those. I can't. The only negative about those is when the show is over and you're trying to go back to your room. Everybody's getting on the elevator with you. What room are you? Then it becomes.
Listen, you can't have everything.
Okay? Can't have it all. You have to say it, and that is what I say, Barry. When I miss, there have been times when I've been booked or called for certain things at the same time, and you can't do it. Oh, I used to get so upset. Like, why can't you? I'm off next week. Why couldn't this? And I would have to tell myself mentally, Audrey, you can't do it all.
Yeah,
you're gonna miss stuff. You have to just.
And it still stings. One you, and there are thousands of jobs. So
and there's thousands of singers. So basically, it stings, but you have to say to yourself. And then when you go on tour, you lose a lot of the recording sessions that you would normally be called for because they're like, oh, she's out of town, and the people that want your gig will be, she's on the road, she's out with Shaka, so I can do it, so
it
becomes
there are always those I call them vipers.
Absolutely.
Vipers who are ready to jump in your shoes.
Oh my God. And it's happened. And you can't get mad at them, but
no, because you're not there and somebody else has to do it.
And sometimes the producers, if they really want your sound, they will say, you know what? When do you get back? They'll work around your schedule. But that's not always.
So where are you traveling to next?
We're going to a part of the world called Iowa. And if you don't know,
I've heard of it. I've never been to Iowa.
It's not a lot of people of color there. Not.
Put it out there, sister. Put it out there.
I'm just being real. It's just, and so it's a venue. I mean, fortunately, Chaka Khan's music reaches the masses
everywhere.
So they love her music. We play casinos, and sometimes the whole crowd is, well, that's not true. It's mostly half and half, but sometimes it's 60 white, So I talk about that because that's the beauty of her. When we play with
and
Michael
the beauty
McDonald,
of music in general.
Absolutely.
That is the bridge between many people.
Iowa and St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is great. That's a music town, so they love music.
Okay.
Jazz.
I've heard about it, but no idea where it is. I know it's in America somewhere.
Absolutely. So we do that every weekend. We have shows. We're going to Atlanta. We're doing, oh my God, I forgot what the next one is. Indianapolis, LA. We're taping a big TV show at the end of the month. So it always just keeps moving. And then a couple things coming up in October. So we just keep it moving, and it's not, the schedule's not as heavy as June and July was.
Right. Okay.
The Shaka's like, that's it. I'm not. I could do that once a year. I'll do that, and then
it was quite a long time in London.
That was, and she got an Airbnb instead of getting a hotel, which was smart. So she was stationary in one place and just drove to all the venues.
London was a long time.
But I love London. I want to state for the record that before I was ever even in a relationship with Will, I sang backgrounds with Will because Will was huge there first. You guys recognized my husband's talent way before, but I was once his background singer. And I remember when I went there, I had never seen people like, oh my God, that's Will Downing. And I'm just going, because he was my friend. And one of the things that we used to do together as friends with the whole band was shopping. And when I tell you, I know you all are so used to it. Y'all have your finger on, I don't know what it is, but shopping in London is just amazing to us. I mean, we have
everybody has always said
oh that my God,
the 60s.
Yes,
the 60s. It's always been.
It's amazing. It's just
London seems to be this mecca of style and creation.
Do you all not see it, if I could ask?
Well, it's the same thing as you were talking about your upbringing. You didn't see it because you were in it. See,
That's true.
you took it for granted.
That's
So,
true.
you know.
It's like you guys are a little ahead of, you know, whenever I would go, my daughter was like, oh my God, you're going to London, mommy. All I want you to get me is, can you get me a London trench coat? I said, okay, a trench coat? What is so fabulous? I bought her a trench coat, but it was just like, looked at it, I was like, and she's probably gonna say, I got this in London. I mean, I get it. I get it, but nobody's gonna know that coat specifically came from London.
From London.
Unless you show them, this is where I got it, you know. So one of my favorite stores
has always been quite the thing.
Oh, it's the thing. One of my favorite stores is M&S. I know that sounds crazy.
Really?
Oh my God, that's my store. I can get food, I can get clothes. I got a piece of luggage out of there. I just love that store.
Marks and Spencer is very good for food. The
yes,
food
it is
very, very good.
Amazing. When you're staying in a hotel and you know the food might not be, you know, you don't want to spend money on food every day anyway. I get like fruit from there. I have my certain things that I get.
M&S food is always, you know, it is always a cut above the rest, even above most supermarkets.
And I see people in there. That's right. You saw people in there buying for their families. Yeah. So it's just a place. I love Boots. I mean, look, I could go on and on and on. That is, I love
Boots. Is a drugstore.
No, listen, let me tell you what's different. Boots, you go to Boots, they have name brand makeup in there. They don't do that in CVS. Okay. You're not gonna find, I'm trying to give you an example. You go in there and you find Morphe, you find, I'm trying to think of a name brand. They don't do that in CVS. They don't do that in right. You go in there and you get drugstore makeup. You cannot go in.
You know, there you can get things like Maybelline and
right.
Blah, blah.
That's all they do in the States. When you go there, they have perfume, whatever's hot, whatever's the new perfume. They don't do that. It's like Jean Naté, some stuff your great grandmother wore. I mean, I'm being real. So it's a different atmosphere, and when you go to Boots, it's like we're like, okay, bye. We all go our different areas. It's just a different environment. It's all inclusive. And I also, you know, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, and I'm not naming designer shishi poo places because I can get that in America. I can get that.
Yeah,
I love Boots. I love M&S, and I love Primark. Now, look, don't judge me. I love Primark. I know you think I love that store.
Is this interview still on?
No. I know y'all think we're crazy, but it's not about, it's the novelty of it. Look at him. It's something about it. It's like, especially when I'm buying stuff for my daughter. The first time I went, she was still in middle school, and they had these jeans, and I FaceTimed her, and I was like, these are the skinny leg jeans you like, and they come in different lengths and different colors. I want black, blue. It was just like so.
And you can buy black, blue, white,
every color you want.
2 pairs of each.
Absolutely, I was getting her like jeans, and my luggage was heavy. It's just, we had a ball. They had little trinkets. It's not about money. It's not about. They have lashes. It's just a cute store. I love it. Love it.
Brilliant.
So, you know,
that's absolutely brilliant.
But anyway,
you've covered the UK shopping scene. We'll get back to
the music. I know. I've gone on drag.
So what's in store with Unlimited Touch? Are they back together? Have you got a replacement for the guy who passed?
We actually have. We have a guy who kind of physically reminds people of Sandy. He's a great player. Okay. He's a younger guy. He was a fan. He calls himself a fan who joined the band. And he's from DC area, Virginia, DC area. And we've done shows with him. We did one in...
I'm a fan, and I can sing.
Oh, shoot.
I can dance. I hear music in the street.
I see it. And
yes, I hear the funky beat. And I get down. If you need it.
I see. You got all the rhythms right and everything, too. Yes.
Yeah. I've got the harmonies down pat.
Do you?
It has been done with candlesticks. It has been done with remote controls.
Oh, yes.
I've sung into everything, honey.
We all did that.
Yeah,
come on now.
I have sung into everything. I know those harmonies to a T.
That's all right. Yeah, we definitely are available for bookings. A couple of times a year, we get called or we try to get together. One of our guitar player, well, the other guitar player's name is Philip Hamilton. He has been with Anita Baker for years. So we have to work around normally his schedule and my schedule, because we're with people that, so they call
people that are touring all the time. Yeah.
Everybody else is still working, don't get me wrong, but they're like, okay,
what's Anita? Everybody is still working, and there's Anita and Shaka.
What's Shaka? They always, we have to tell, we're like the first call and say, are you going to be available on this date? And I have to go, I can't do that one.
But how amazing would that be if we could get unlimited touch to London?
If you know a promoter, from your mouth to their ear, we would be very open. We were told, we almost had some gigs in London, but I don't know, something didn't happen. It fell through. We had a promoter that booked us in France. And so this same guy was trying to bring us, he knew somebody in London who wanted to.
Right.
I remember I did one gig on my own, and this was, I don't remember the year, 2000, I don't remember. 2000, I really can't remember. And it was because of my solo record. It was a song that they loved, and they told my husband, and D-Train sang backgrounds on it. So everybody always talks about that song. So I came and I said, they want me to, and I'll never forget, it was in this huge club. And one thing about your British fans that we've learned, British and Japanese fans, you guys are so into the music, into every aspect of every part, that when the song is playing, you all are silent, dead silent. And if you've never been to England, you've never performed, you don't get it. You think, oh my God, they hate this. They hate what I'm doing. You're used to crowds going, yeah, something while you're saying,
yeah. But they're not listening to the musicality. Because I know when I go to a concert, I want to hear what I've been playing on that vinyl for 35 or 40 years.
Have you guys been told this? We've heard this before from people. It's such a thing. But when you first go there, so this was my first time going solo. And I did the song. And after I finished it, they went nuts. And there's this thing that Jamaican people go when they do their hand. I can't do it, but yep, they were doing that. And I was like, does that mean they like it? I was like,
they're going to come out the stage and kill me.
I don't have any support. There's no band. This was a track gig. And they were like, whoop, whoop, making sounds. And I was like, oh my God, they did like it. And so we would love to come. You
don't really understand Audrey Wheeler and Unlimited Touch. You don't seem to understand.
Wow. I don't. Wow. I got to tell the band when I get off, I can't wait to text them all. We have a group text and just say, I just did an interview. We don't realize. And I'm sure that we don't. I'm sure
searching to find the one. All of these are anthems in everything, but Happy Ever After is my personal.
That's my personal. And I love you. I love you for this because we actually also about in 2019 as well. Louis Vega, who's a big he comes there.
Of course, Louis Vega.
He was just there like about 3 weeks ago. He loves us as well, and so he decided to remix I Hear Music.
I was gonna say, I'm surprised he didn't get his hands all over that.
He remixed it. If you Google it, he remixed it, and he also did a song on us called "Music Is My Life," and it's supposedly doing really well there as well. And I got to perform it in January of this year with him. I was there with him, and same thing. When it was over, they would like they knew all the words, and so. Louis being a fan, he decided to produce a song and he remixed I Hear Music. So we went back in the studio. Stephanie, she went back in and sang her parts. I sang that. And then we did the Music Is My Life. So we are definitely still wanting to tour.
That's what Louis Vega does as well. He takes the classic tracks like Thousand Finger Man by Candido and remixes and put a little jump in it.
Luther, he took
Coming
Luther
by Roy Ayers. He got
a Grammy. He got a Grammy with Luther Vandross. He took a song with Luther.
I used to call them the alchemists because everything they touch turns to gold.
He got a Grammy. He got a Grammy for that.
Yeah, so there's nothing he does that he touches that it does not just embellish it, enhance it,
and highlight it. So basically. I still work with Louis. Louis calls me for records and I record with him. But it just makes you feel when they say to you, he'll say, my first big recording session, he said I had Jocelyn Brown, Audrey Wheeler, and Cindy Mizell. Those were my background singers. And he said, I don't even remember this, but he said that was his first session. I worked with Jelly Bean. I worked with Arthur Baker. So I worked with a lot.
That's a baptism of fire.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Of fire. Where do you go after that?
Right.
I mean,
right.
You know, where do you go after that? Now, I'm interested about, sorry to cut you, the Trini part of you. Where is that? Where is that? From your mother, your father? My mother.
My dad is from the South. My mother and my grandmother used to call the house, and we were kids. We didn't know what she was saying. Her accent was so heavy. And even if you think about my name is West Indian, Audrey. Audrey, there's a whole song. People sing it to me.
Sugar boom boom, that's you.
I go to parties and everybody's like, they're singing your name. It's like, so my mother named, I got the most West Indian name, but I remember when my mom said when I was in her stomach, she lost her grandmother. So when I came out and I was like a lot lighter than my siblings, she was like, you look like my grandma. You look like her. That's how God works. And she always tried to make me feel,
of her grandmother.
Yes, she would make me feel comfort, like, yes, don't let people make you feel like an oddity. You are my baby. Those are your sisters and brothers.
But I'll let you into a little secret. I'm half Trini. My father.
I knew you were. I knew it. I knew it.
How did you know?
I can look at you. Come on. First of all, so much of London is the island. It's the Caribbean.
Of course.
A lot of it is Jamaica, if we're going to be honest. But so many, honestly, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but when I come there, the food that I eat is West Indian food, Chinese food, and Indian food. And that's it. Those are the only.
And that's the Trini in you.
That's it. I can't do the other food. I'm sorry.
That's the Trini in you.
The Chinese
food, I don't even. The Indian food.
Come on. I eat all the island food. That's what I eat when I come there.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. The best. Yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, the island side of me, I never forget it. And I usually can look at people, or when they're talking, they might have a sing-song quality to them. And I'm like, what island are you from? And they go, how you know? And they'll say, I was born in America. But I'm like, who's West Indian in your family? My mother. Well, girl, when you get mad or when you get excited, you go right back into with your mother.
Yes.
We all do.
People say that all the time. And I was born right here in the UK.
But I can even hear it.
My father is Trini and my mother is from Barbados.
Oh Lord! Oh, you got both. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I love Barbadian people, and so when we went there, we played there. Which I went there with Shaka, went and played in this resort. So it's like I love going to the islands. It's almost like home. You're coming home. But yeah.
Listen, we want to see you back here in the UK as soon as possible.
Call us if I get there, and if by any chance, because this last year Christmas time, we got called at the last minute. It was a private gig for Shaka, and I stayed at the old BBC studios. They turned it into a hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's right across from that huge mall.
That's right. Yep.
I was in heaven.
I'm sure.
Oh my God! They were like, "Where are you going? Across the street."
I'm just gonna cross the street.
Just gonna go to M&S and get some grapes. I would always act like that's what I was doing, but it was just like that's a huge mall. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's huge.
We played right next door. It was like it was for Nike it was for Adidas. It was a private event for Adidas, and Shaka sang, and it was in this roller skating rink that's right next to that mall. So
Westfields.
Yes. And so that was a last minute. Are you available to do this gig? And so I hope I get back there before this year ends. I love London. One of my favorite places.
Well, London loves you too.
I love you back. And please, we'd love to be there. Anybody promoters out there, book us. We would love to do it. We would be honored. We're still a unit. We still play together. We still love music, and we love each other. We started when we were kids. We were all like teenagers. Yeah. So, it's almost like they knew me when. I ask them sometimes, was I like this when I was that age? Or because I'm really very introspective. I like to, like when you were saying so much about how I seem like I'm when you say certain things, I'm like,
Yeah,
you should always be that way to me. You know what I mean? You should always
and
be
when you ask them, were you always like that? What do they say?
They'll say, girl, yes. But I wasn't as confident because they all grew up in the same area. They were all from New Rochelle, Mount Vernon. I was from Queens. So I kind of always felt like they would talk about high school. Remember when we were in high school? And I was just like, or they would introduce me to people. they didn't know me. You know, I was the outsider, but I became family. But in retro, like this guy now who's replaced Sandy, he's from a whole nother state. You know, we welcomed him. He's younger than us. You know, he loved us in college. He said during college, he loved I Hear Music and he loved Searching to Find the One. And we're like, huh? It's just weird because he's younger. He's a lot younger, but he's an amazing bass player. So,
yeah, I mean, you've been touching us over here since the 80s, the beginning of the 80s, from the first album. And, you know, the people I have to name because they will be besides themselves to know that I'm talking to Audrey Wheeler of Unlimited Touch. Errol Benjamin, who was the one who was Happy Ever After album, but that wasn't even his tune, but that was my tune.
That was my song too.
From this album, this is the tune, Happy Ever After.
That's my favorite song. I've ever sung with that. That's my favorite song.
The drive-in car park of McDonald's, we had to mention Delroy Dyer. He and I were out there dancing together. Did
you say Delroy?
Delroy Dyer, yeah.
Yeah, we our band is the band playing on Delroy Morgan's.
Okay.
That's Unlimited Touch pretty much playing, and I did the demo. All those parts I made up.
Yeah, so well, he and I, we were dancing in the car park with some other people who just joined us because the music was good coming out of my car. You know, so you've been touching us, our spirits, our souls for, well, more years than I care to mention.
Right, me too. But I want to thank you for
keep doing what you do.
I will. Thank you so much for even wanting to do an interview with me. It means the world to me. I know my husband's always pushing me to, you know, you've become content to sing backgrounds for everybody. You need to do your own thing. And I'm just like, this business can beat you up a little bit. You don't always feel appreciated. And I just want to say to you and your followers, thank you. This means a lot to me. Definitely.
You've no idea what it means to us to talk to Audrey Wheeler. And when we put it out, you'll see they'll be going mad. It's Audrey Wheeler. Come on.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule and doing all this for me, the hair, the makeup, for me.
Oh, stop. Of course. Come on now. Come on.
You know, we are honored, flattered, and very touched. And wish you all the very best. Keep in touch with the BTM Club, please.
I sure will. I will.
Let us know whenever you are touching soil back in the UK.
I will. As soon as I get there, we'll go do lunch.
I can feel a shopping trip coming out.
Listen, we could go do lunch. You take me to a good West Indian spot, and we'll be
for sure. You take care.
Thank you
so very much, and all the best.
Bye, baby.
Bye. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you put the right energy out there. As you say, you know, he wasn't even thinking about not being able to
ever
walk.
being able to walk.
That was never mentioned to him.
Right. Never. No, right. But they said it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm watching him with rehab people. And, you know, eventually when he came home, we had a therapist that would like do exercises with him. And in Will's mind, his main goal was, and we have I'm in the basement right now, but we have 3 levels. And he was on the main level where you come in the front door. And his main goal was to be able to walk upstairs to our bedroom. And I didn't know this. So this is what him and the guy were working on, just walking. And I remember I went out shopping, or I went to pick my daughter up from school or something. And I came home and he had left a note on the bed. And he said, honey, I needed us upstairs. And when I tell you, just tears. So, you know, sometimes there's a lesson to be learned from very devastating things.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that for all, I mean, you know, Will and I have experienced some really low lows. We've lost major people in our lives. And one of the things I will tell people is when he was really, really ill and paralyzed, he made jokes the whole time. He was in a wheelchair and he would ride around the house and be like, oh, I'm doing a wheelie. And I'm saying to myself, if he can make jokes, he's the one that's paralyzed.
Yeah.
So it would make me.
I can do it. I can be more positive.
I cannot sit here sobbing. My biggest worry was my daughter. She was 10. And so everybody kept taking her. Well, we're going to take her away on vacation. She could spend the night. I'll take her to school. You know, it seemed like every time he would have an episode where the ambulance would come, she would be out of the house. Thank the Lord. She didn't. It seemed like
they didn't see it.
God made it work out. The only thing she did experience, he fell one time. When he first got sick, he fell down the whole flight of stairs. And that is how we ended up taking him to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we
that was
thought
from him coming back from a trip from Africa.
absolutely. But like maybe a month later. And the weird thing is, the drummer who was in his band at the time is now in the band with Shaka. He's in the band with me. He came down with a form of the same disease.
Right.
It has to be something. They got bit by something.
That they got there. Yeah.
There's all different forms. What Will had is something called polymyositis. And this guy had dermamyositis. So what happened to him was he broke out in his face.
Derma is skin,
all these
right?
lesions. So there's all these forms of myositis. And Will's was muscular. So everything in your body, your throat is a muscle, your lung, your heart, all of this failed him. He had no lung capacity. And so he had pneumonia over and over again. And they had to put him on machines to breathe for him. He had to sleep with a BiPAP.
But look at the idea
look at him
of positivity and positive thinking. And he's back out there traveling and
that's what we were talking about, the power of
positive thinking.
It's just like,
it's great that it took this for, as you say, him to decide, well, you know what, work can't be priority. It's going to be my family.
And by him, he teaches me. Because what people also don't realize with us as entertainers, we miss holidays. We miss Mother's Days. We miss Father's Days because people want to go see
entertainers on those
They want
days.
Entertainers those days. So you miss Thanksgiving. You miss Christmas. Now, my current boss, Shaka Khan, is like, no more Christmas. So we know Christmas time, we're going to be home with our family. She's like, I'm not doing that. We used to work every New Year's. And we haven't in a minute, but I hear we may be working this New Year's. I don't know where. But all of that
New Year is different.
That's different. That's different. Because now you've had the whole week of family. Now you want to get away from them.
No, you want to get away from them.
You're bye. That's enough.
You're sick of the 18th serving of turkey. Yeah.
You're done. So
I'm done.
It's
so
done.
It's really that.
I'm glad that we got into this area of it, because also for me on the side, one of the things that I do, you should always have something that you love to do besides the thing you do that you love. Like singing is what I love to do. But I love doing makeup. I used to do it when Will got sick. I was doing makeup around town. I was doing my daughter's school plays because it was a way for me to be around my kid, to be with her. It looked like, oh, your mother's volunteering to do the makeup for the play. Oh, that's so sweet. But honey, I was in that room listening to all them talking and like, oh, really? She likes what boy? Okay. And then she'd come home and I'd be like, so who's Ben? How do you know about
Ben?
A little birdie told me. What's going on? So, that was a way, and that was something that God, plus it was helping young kids learn about doing makeup the right way. I'm really into that aspect. And I also crochet. I have a crochet page on, social media, and like when the holidays come.
Well, the thing is, that is one of the skills that's being lost because the generations don't pick that up anymore. They don't want to crochet, and there was another thing called tatting that was much.
Yes, tatting is on the round, but I don't knit. I do crochet, but I make hats, scarves, dresses. I do bags. And anyone interested, the page is by Audrey Designs. It's on, all the social medias, and by Audrey is spelled BYAUDRIE Designs. That's not how I spell my name, but that's how I spell that.
Say it again.
By Audrey. So it's BYAUDRIE Designs.
All right.
And it's on,
on the social medias.
At all social medias. And and I have a whole, you'll see stuff I made. Some of it you're gonna be people always say, when do you have time? It's like, there's time when you have a 18-hour flight to Japan. You have time. You have days off.
You've got nothing more than time because you're in a metal tube in the air. There's no way you can go.
Absolutely. And then even in England, I go to Hobbycraft is the craft store I go to so I make it a thing that when I go to different countries, let me go to the craft store here in Australia. Let me see what their yarn is about. So it makes me leave my room because I will stay in my room and just watch TV and crochet. So it's like a way that I get to see the city that I'm in. So it's many things that you have to do besides this, because you will go stir crazy if all you are thinking about is one thing, or because you miss your family too when you're traveling. So it's a way that I get myself going so that I appreciate. I'm lucky to be on tour. I'm lucky to have a beautiful family. I'm lucky to still be here performing and doing what I do. So, you know, I never take that for granted. Trust me. You start thinking about yourself like, oh my God, how much longer? God, thank you. Thank you for, you know, keeping me still here and viable, you know.
That's
so
it. And you have to say that's what the blessing is, you know?
right.
The blessing.
And like I'll also say, I really believe, you know, like even with my husband, friendship is so important. And we were friends for like 20 something years before we ever, people assumed we were together, but we were he was married. I was with someone else. But, you know, once we broke up from those two, we ended up living in the same building. And people always, how did y'all get together? And I was just like reluctant because I'm like, for me, I don't date casually. I'll just be alone. I'm good. I'm good. You ain't gonna hear no stories about me. That's just not me.
And that's the way you want it to be.
Yeah. Well, that's what.
You don't want your name scrawled all over every bathroom wall.
Absolutely. And many, you don't want that reputation. No. So for me, he was just like, we're friends and I think we can handle it. And I was like, no, because if we don't make it, my friendship with you will be lost. No, we won't do it. He was very, no, we won't. And I was like, I don't know. So it took a lot of convincing for me. But honestly,
sophisticated souls.
It's not even just that, but you know, for me, it just really was, I'll be honest with you, our friendship is what got us through his illness. Right. Because let me tell you, that can be very, you know, like
a lot of pressure and stress.
Come on, absolutely. His mother was like, if we were not friends and he didn't have the type of humor and the way he was about joking about little things, it taught me to laugh at the little things. You know, when I do things so seriously, like be sensitive. You hurt my feelings. You didn't have time to do that. Just any minute I had with him, like I said, when, you know, doctors are telling you, I don't know, we've tried to give him every medicine we have and it's not working. It's not bringing his legs back. So I just say to people, treasure your family members, treasure your time. Look, a pandemic happened. That was made a lot of people be very thoughtful. And so I will say, let's not forget where we were after the pandemic. Yeah. When we were stuck in a house.
Our lives have been stolen.
Absolutely. Kids couldn't graduate. I mean, people lost their jobs. It's just like, let's appreciate and the divisiveness. Let's just think about that.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah. So anyway, again, it's an honor talking to you.
The wonderful, the amazing. I'm going to have to edit this in because, you know,
that's fine.
It's just wonderful talking to you and our little Trini connection.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You said it right. As soon as I did my accent, you said, that's a Trini accent. Yes, sir. You knew it right away.
100%. Wow. Listen, sweetheart, a pleasure.
Take you as care. Well. And I promise I really will reach out. I'll send it to the number I have and the email when I come.